The time for convening has arrived, and before I call the special meeting of the Public Facilities Authority to order for this evening, I'd like to recognize Mr. Paulson for an introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Paul. As those of you that know Sandy Springs, we've been a city for 20 years, and we were a novel idea 20 years ago. And we were studied by a variety of individuals from a bunch of different countries and cities. And today I had the pleasure of meeting with one of those long-standing followers of Sandy Springs, and that's visiting Professor Tomio Yoshikawa, President of the International Public Policy Institute. And Professor, if you would please stand. We spent the afternoon talking about the formation of Sandy Springs and how we have, over 20 years, we've migrated from a complete contracted service to a mix of public-private partnership and employees as well. And then we got into an interesting discussion of how government works in Japan. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, I wanted to recognize him. Thank you for coming all this way. And I hope you enjoyed this afternoon as much as I enjoyed it, and come back anytime.
Well, he's been here, I think 3 times now. He met with Eva Galambos soon after we started the city, and 7 years ago. He and I had the opportunity to spend time together, and so today Mr. Paulson was his host, and so thank you for coming back, and we hope that you'll return again. All right, I would like to call this special meeting of the Public Facilities Authority to order for Tuesday, March the 4th, 2025. Will the Secretary please make the announcements and call the roll?
Good evening, members of the Public Facilities Authority. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. We have Chair Rusty Paul.
Here.
Member John Paulson.
Here.
Member Melody Kelly.
Present.
Member Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Member Jody Rochelle. Member Tibby DiGiulio.
Here.
Member Andy Bauman.
Here.
Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. DiGiulio.
I move approval of the meeting agenda for the Public Facility Authorities for Tuesday, March 4th, 2025.
We have a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on approval of the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of the meeting minutes for October 15, 2024 of the Public Facilities Authority.
We have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. DiGiulio, that we approve the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 Public Facilities Authority called meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on approval of the minutes. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Moving to new business, the Secretary will please read the first item.
This is PFA 2025-02. Consideration of a resolution to approve the parking fee schedule for the city of for the City Springs development. This is presented by Facilities, Capital Construction, and Building Operations Director Dave Wells.
Mr. Wells.
Good evening, Chairman Paul, members of the PFA. Tonight we have 2 parking-related items for your consideration. The first item is a proposed parking rate schedule for City Springs. City staff and consultants have studied industry standards for surface and deck parking in developments such as City Springs and have determined the parking rates in the attached schedule to be competitive and appropriate for City Springs. These rates are realistic and consistent with prompting economic activity that benefits City Springs, the arts programming, residents, and visitors. An increase in revenue will be expected due to the proposed rates. This additional revenue will be used to offset the costs associated with parking facilities, such as capital charges, utility costs, security, car parking management services, and maintenance. Staff recommends the members of the City of Sandy Springs Public Facilities Authority approve the proposed parking rates for the City Springs development.
You've heard the report of the Director of Facilities, Capital Construction, and Building Operations. What's the desire of council? Or the PFA, pardon me.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Kelly.
I'll move approval of agenda item PFA 2025-02, a resolution to approve the parking fee schedule for the City Springs District. development,
All right,
sorry.
we've got a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Mueller. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on PFA 202502, a resolution approving the parking fee schedule for the City Springs development. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Mayor Paul, quick question. When are you thinking of putting these into effect, Dave?
These would, City Manager?
Soon?
Yes, it's contingent upon the next item also moving
Okay.
forward.
Thank you.
But they would coincide with one another.
Thank you.
All right. Will the Secretary please read the next item?
This is PFA 2025-03, consideration of a resolution to approve a contract award to 12 Oaks Parking LLC for parking management services for the City Springs complex and to authorize the general manager to execute the contract. This is also presented by Director of Facilities, Capital Construction, and Building Operations, Dave Wells.
Mr. Wells.
Yes, the City of Sandy Springs issued RFP 24060 for parking management services on June 3rd, 2024, seeking proposals from experienced parking management contractors capable of providing well-rounded parking management services for the City Springs complex. The city's purchasing department held a non-mandatory pre-proposal conference on June 19, 2024. 3 parking management companies, Linear Parking Meter Services LLC, 12 Oaks Parking LLC, and Legacy Parking Company LLC were invited to submit proposals for the management of the Sandy Springs complex based on the current parking rate structure. The procurement was conducted using the performance price trade-off process as described in the RFP. This process evaluates the proposal based on 3 performance criteria: capabilities and approaches, cost price proposal, and performance confidence. Responses to the solicitation were evaluated by individuals of the Evaluation Committee. The Evaluation Committee consisted of Chris Owens, the Assistant City Manager, Dave Wells, myself, the Director of Facilities, Ramin Javid, General Manager of Performing Arts Center, Carl Ziegenmeyer, the Facilities Manager, and Eric Kelly, Purchasing Department Buyer. The Evaluation Committee evaluated each offeror's proposal to the above criteria. Based on the assessment of the proposals described herein, staff recommends that the proposal submitted by 12 Oaks Parking LLC for the parking management services for the City Springs complex represents the best value to the city. Staff recommends that the Public Facilities Authority approve a contract award to 12 Oaks LLC to provide parking management services for the City Springs complex as it relates to the request for proposal 2406 and request authorization for the general manager to execute the contract.
You've heard the report of the Director of Facilities, Capital Construction, and Building Operations. What's the desire of the authority?
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Kelly.
I'll move approval of agenda item PFA 2025-03, which is a resolution to approve a contract award to 12 Oaks Parking for parking management services for the City Springs complex and to authorize the general manager to execute the contract.
We have a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Mueller. Any discussion? Dr. Kelly and then Mr. Paulson.
All right, so I think Mr. Paulson mentioned the timeline question. So assuming that this passes, when could we expect it, these to go into effect? And will there be a warning period like there are for the speed cameras at the schools?
Yes, Dr. Kelly. So, we'll have to get the contract signed, but we've already been in communication with 12 Oaks, which are here at the council meeting. We're looking probably mid-April, beginning of May, going to this.
Okay.
And they will be meeting with myself, we'll be meeting with the residents and the retail before we launch these new rates too, just make sure they're aware of where the major change to the parking rate structure is the on-street parking. Instead of paying the $45 ticket after 2 hours, now they'll have the option to go up to the app and adjust their time while they're eating at the restaurants, things like that.
Actually, speaking of the on-street, can you define the boundaries for the on-street?
So, Dr. Kelly, on-street parking is Anything inside City Springs complex is on-street parking. So it's a south parking lot, Mount Vernon Highway parking. It is the Columbus Way Bluestone, Market Square, and then the few parking places. I believe there are 6 parking spaces on Sandy Springs Circle over by the bank.
Okay. And there's signage there. I know
There's
signage.
plenty of signage,
Okay.
and actually there'll be more signage. So
Okay. There was some talk around thinking about using proceeds to fund, I don't know, ways we could use proceeds. Is that conversation still a possibility?
So the way that this is structured, the city would not receive any revenue until certain performance thresholds are met. So once we get to that point, we can certainly bring back
can
a
talk?
discussion for that.
Okay. So whatever, we're not locked into anything at this point.
No, at this point, that would be counted in the next year's budget. It wouldn't be realized in the current year's budget.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm complete.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Chairman. So, Dave, let's get a little bit into the details of this system, and here's why I'm asking. I'm sure we have all been, at times, stuck behind somebody who couldn't quite figure out how to get the gate to go up in front of them. I understand this new system, we won't have gates any longer, but how will this operate? And this is a plate reader deal, or tell us a little more about the details of how this is going to operate in lieu of the gates being there.
Councilman Paulson, if I could, I'd like to bring Jeremy Scott up here. He can explain the
So, Mr. Paulson, you've been behind me a few times, I see.
Was that you?
You've been behind Tibby.
I'd like to thank the PFA for having us here today, and thank you for the opportunity to potentially work together. So this technology system, the one that we're recommending, is a system we're installing at all of our new facilities, parking facilities that we've operated here in the metro Atlanta area. Most recently, the Southern Post development that's in Roswell, the former Southern Skillet property. But at a high level, when you enter the facility, there's not the traditional encumbrance of the gate or having to push anything. You free flow, frictionless is what we like to call it. You free flow into the facility. Your license plate is red on your entry. Once you enter, you have the ability to pay through signage that'll direct you instructing either a scan to pay or a text to pay system. There's also the ability to have pay stations as well for folks that don't want to use the text to pay or merely smartphone based. But once you pay using the system, your license plate, you enter your license plate. So now your license plate is in the database. So you've entered, your license plate has been scanned. You pay, now your license plate in the system. Those two things match up. So when the event is over, or your meal is over, or whatever is over, and you leave the facility, there's no need to wait for a gate. Your license plate is scanned again on exit. And the system cross-references to say, oh, this license plate successfully completed a transaction and started a session, or it didn't. If it didn't, then at the end of the day, we get a list of license plates that didn't successfully perform that transaction. We can review it, and then we have the ability to send a citation automatically cross-referencing publicly available data. That citation goes directly to their house. And then we have a customer service agent available for people to call and have questions, and we have the ability to waive violations on the first time, things like that, to make sure it's not if they didn't understand it the first time along. We will also, when this transition happens, we'll have an abundance of people around to help that transition period. So, hey, this is a new system. We'll have ambassadors out there walking them through how to do it.
So will your system remember my license plate as well as the credit card I used to pay it? Because I'm thinking that's actually quite simple.
It can, yes.
Okay.
The system can remember that. It can be cached in the system.
Thank you. Good.
Any other, Ms. Mueller?
So what credit cards do you accept? Do you not accept any major credit cards?
We accept all major credit cards.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. DiGiulio? They even accept my wife's one, apparently.
Did I understand you correctly that the system will retain our credit card information?
Well, it's a third-party credit card processor that has all the credit card compliance, things like that. I'm not personally, as a company, and the city's not personally retaining it.
But there is somebody retaining our citizens' credit card information.
It can be retained online, yes. It
Now,
follows.
now does the citizen have a choice of whether they want it retained or not, or is it just automatic?
They don't have to save their credit card, no, sir. They do not, no, sir, have to.
They do not have
They
to.
do not have to, no.
Okay.
Any others? All right, hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item PFA 2025-03, a resolution approving a contract award to 12 Oaks Parking LLC for parking management services for the City Springs complex and authorizing the general manager to execute the contract. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Is there a motion to adjourn the PFA? Mr. DiGiulio. Mr. DiGiulio moves adjournment. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Paulson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Moving to the work session. The first item is the Sandy Springs Citizen Leadership Academy graduation. Can I get all the graduates to come forward? Yeah, a little bit of Elgar would be nice. A little bit of Elgar. You got to do a little pomp and circumstance. Well, we're going to take a picture here in a minute. Oh, for the audio portion of Elgar? Pomp and circumstance? Yes, I am, shortly, if they get here. I'm going to sit here and say a few things and then go down and have a picture. Well, congratulations, graduates. We're delighted that you've gone through. This is the second class. Okay. That doesn't mean you're second-class citizens by any stretch of the imagination. Don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm saying. It's a great program and great participation, and I think that all the feedback I get is that everybody is highly engaged, and really I hope this helps you better understand what we're doing on this side of the desk as well as what all these people around here are doing. But I want to thank you for your interest in your community, your engagement in your community, and the time that you spent learning about your community. It's very, very important that people truly understand what we do and why we do it, and I think that this program has been, I hope it has been enlightening and that you've enjoyed the opportunity and learned a tremendous amount. Most people that come through this program when I talk to them later, excuse me, I'm battling a little bit of a cold here the last couple of days. They come through it and they say, I just didn't realize. I just didn't know. And I am so appreciative that you guys had this so I could understand it. And we have other programs here that I hope you'll avail yourselves of. We have the Citizens Police Academy and the Fire Corps. That's a whole different group of people over there with a different culture and different ways of doing things. But they're very important, by the way. So thank you, and I want to come up and we'll, I think, Carter, you're going to take the picture. And we have certificates on the table. If you really are a graduate, you'll be able to recognize your name on your certificate. So please take yours and not somebody else's. I don't know what we're doing here.
Squeezing.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
Sure, Steve. Go to the mic if you would, please.
I'm self-designated, not sent up here by the rest of the group, but I think they would agree with this. I just want to thank you and the council and the city for doing this kind of program for the citizens. And I want to particularly thank all the folks who have come to speak to us and given up part of their evening, and particularly Aaron and Caroline, who have been with us every single time. So just thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve, and the whole group. Yeah, Caroline is the one essential employee in this place because it all stops if she ever disappears. So,
Mayor Paul, can I pose a question?
Sure.
Madam City Manager, do you know when the next cohort starts?
Likely September.
Okay.
It takes us a little bit of time because we go back and tweak to make things specific to the current events that are happening. So we would look to start after school starts back in the fall.
Okay, so when can people expect applications to be available?
Typically in June.
In
So it would be
June.
late June. We'll make sure to do a full push like we did this past year.
Okay.
On social media so that folks are aware, and we'll put out a press release to announce applications are available. It is limited to 30 people because we want it to remain a valuable experience for the participants.
Okay, so Julius, June. All right.
all right. Are there any other discussions?
Mayor
Mr.
Paul,
Paulson?
real quick, I've talked to several graduates of this class, and one of the things they repeatedly talk about is how enthusiastic the staff is when they present this. Everything from Carolyn, who's fantastic, to finance, to all the other department heads. Everybody's remarked that everybody's just enthused about their job, no matter which job it is. It's fantastic that our staff enjoys doing this as well. So kudos to them.
Well, thank you, you all. All right. That ends the work session. Now we'll move to regular order. I would like to call this meeting of the Sandy Springs City Council to order for Tuesday, March the 4th, 2025. Will the city clerk please make the announcements and call the roll?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a reminder to everybody in attendance, please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices at this time. Individuals who would like to provide public comment at a city council meeting are required to complete and submit those public comment cards in advance of these meetings. Public comment cards are available online and at the chamber entrance. Those providing public comment may be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on their single chosen topic. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Rusty Paul.
Present.
Councilmember John Paulson. Councilmember Melody Kelly. Councilmember Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Rochelle. Councilmember Tibby DeGiulio. Councilmember Andy Bauman.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comment cards?
Yes, we've received 8 public comment cards this evening. So I'm going to call several people down at a time, and if you'll line yourselves up in order that I call. The first is from Alexander Somer, who will be followed by Raymond Grote. Excuse me, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Alexander Somer, 1503 Tree Lodge Parkway, Sandy Springs 30350. So the reason why I want to talk tonight is I've been following the North Spalding School, and I just want to point out that you guys unequivocally failed. You had a chance to save a school, and you couldn't. And on top of that, now the lines are being redrawn where people in my neighborhood, which are primarily people of color, are being sent to Ison Springs, which has a 39% percentage in terms of its relation to other Georgia schools, taking them from Woodland, which is at 71%. So we're taking the disenfranchised, not the disenfranchised, that's voting. We're taking the underprivileged children, throwing them to a school that is no longer, that is underperforming, and on top of that, we're just smashing more people into schools. And for me, as someone who understands that the median income of Sandy Springs is $101,000, how the heck do we have a school performing that poorly to begin with? So as a citizen, I have a 6-year-old child that will be attending Ison Springs next year. Like, I'm deeply concerned about you guys' ability to do anything to protect our children. So in that regard, I would just like to say that, I mean, it's pretty clear you failed. And that's why I have decided to run for mayor of Sandy Springs. So Somer for Sandy Springs, the only person that hasn't failed the children of this town. Thank you.
Raymond Grote, who will be followed by Bill Griffith.
Good evening, Mayor Paul and members of the Sandy Springs City Council. I appreciate your allowing me a chance to speak. It's nice to be in front of a body that actually is concerned about things in the city and in our school system. And I will say, maybe you failed. We failed too. And I'm here representing the Save Spalding Drive Elementary Committee, but I'm here with a simple message. Thank you, every one of you, for your help. We didn't end up getting what we wanted. Sometimes life goes that way. But we did everything we could, and you did everything you could, both publicly, privately, through speeches, through phone calls, through back channels that I know exist. You did everything you could, and we did too. That said, the fight's not over. As many of you know, we intend to pursue a charter school to continue providing quality education for our students and our children. Unfortunately, the responsible body, Fulton County School System, has made this process as difficult as humanly possible, much like they've done for the last 6 months. After repeatedly claiming that closing Spalding was a financial necessity, that our building was old and decaying, and that class sizes were unfairly small, statements that are laughable at best, they're now stonewalling our attempts to engage in meaningful dialogue about purchasing the building for use as a charter school. The absurdity of this fight continues. We will continue to fight, and we will continue to need your support, both public and private. Thank you again for standing with us. We sincerely, sincerely appreciate everything you've done from the bottom of our heart, and your support truly means more than you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Griffith, who's followed by Theodore Davis.
Mr. Mayor and council members, 2 weeks ago, I postponed my backstory about the dangerous approximate 1-mile stretch of Roberts Drive east of Roswell Road. I want to resume that story now. 4 weeks ago, I described 3 of 4 accidents at or near the sharp curve on Roberts Drive that's approximately 3/10 of a mile east of the 400 overpass. I closed by saying I would describe the 4th accident later. I'll do that now. This accident was an at-the-scene accident. It happened about 150 yards west of the above-referenced sharp curve. A westbound car went completely off the road down into one of the deep and steep drop-offs that are very near the curb. I came upon that accident around sunrise the morning after a Super Bowl game as I was running down Roberts Drive. The upper portion of the car was probably 10 feet below the road. From the road, I couldn't tell whether there was anyone in the car, so I went down to the car with apprehension, wondering whether someone was inside. The car was likely totaled. I've now described 9 single-car accidents, one of which was fatal, on the above-referenced stretch of Roberts Drive. At least 8, maybe all, of which were due to speeding. In April 2015, I sent an email to Mayor Paul and Councilman Paulson that gave some of the background related to the flashing speed signs. I said, quote, "Up until a few years ago, there were single-car wrecks in front of or within 50 yards of my house on a rather regular basis. Also, there have been numerous wrecks at the sharp curve on Roberts Drive just east of the 400 overpass. And accidents there put oncoming cars to great risk. As a result of those accidents, several of the neighbors around here petitioned the city to do something. Install speed humps, flashing lights, a stop sign, or something. What we got was solar-powered, radar-controlled flashing speed signs. Some of them were not placed where I thought they should have been placed, but anything was better than nothing. The accidents in front of my house have significantly reduced over the past few years. However, the wrecks at the aforementioned curve seem to continue on a rather regular basis. I do not know if the reduction is because of the flashing signs, the closure of the high school, or what, but I suspect the flashing signs are helpful," end quote. In light of more current information, I want to evaluate that last clause above. I'll compare the number of known-to-me accidents on the above-referenced stretch of Roberts Drive prior to the installation of the signs with such accidents after said installation. As explained in the addendum to this backstory, which I'll send to you, there were probably at least 30 accidents, I said 30, during the approximate 26 years prior to the installation of those signs. That's an average of about 1.2 accidents a year. And those are just the ones of which I am or was aware. I'll finish this later.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Mr. Davis?
Who's followed by Natasha Crawford.
Theodore Davis III, 272 Summer Drive. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Just a few minutes ago, we saw the most recent graduating class of the Sandy Springs Citizens Leadership Academy, where they've spent the last few months learning about Sandy Springs, the government that runs the city, and all the ins and outs about what makes everything click. Of course, it'll inevitably be asked how effective the program is at providing lasting effects. So as someone from the first graduating class, here's my simple answer. It's very, very effective. For one, I'd say that the program has more than succeeded in its main goal, educating residents about the city's functions so that they're better equipped to participate in the local community and help contribute to the city's overall well-being. Even as someone who has previously worked with local governments prior to the program, there's still plenty that I learned that I hadn't seen previously, particularly on the budgeting and emergency management sides. Plus, one side effect of this experience is a new hyper-awareness to the small details, not just in relation to this city, but to municipal government as a whole. For example, when talking with friends recently about developments in downtown Roswell, a good chunk of what I discussed stemmed directly from what I learned from the Leadership Academy here, even though the topic was about another city entirely. And this isn't just limited to myself either, as others in my class have mentioned similar experiences since our own graduation, including those who serve on our boards and commissions. It's safe to say that it's been a great success at equipping our residents to contribute to Sandy Springs in meaningful ways, especially due to the excellent efforts of the staff, as Councilman Paulson rightly pointed out. This program is already proving to be an invaluable resource to our city, and I can't wait to see how it continues to inspire more residents to make a positive impact for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Crawford?
Who's followed by Andrew Quigley.
Good evening. My name is Natasha Crawford, and my family and I are newer residents to Sandy Springs, and we are one of the many families impacted by the closure of Spalding Drive. I wanted to start by saying thank you to each and every one of you who personally showed up at all of the meetings and fighting for our families alongside of us. Many of you did not represent me or the Spalding families, but you showed up anyways, and you exemplified what service truly is. In contrast, I could fill this evening with my concerns surrounding the alleged public service of the Fulton County School Board, but that is not why I am here today. Because while I am baffled by their decision, and I'm truly devastated at what it has done to our community, one thing has been clear to me over the past week. There is no community that I would rather rebuild our life with my family, than my Spalding neighbors, the larger Sandy Springs community, and you, the leadership of Sandy Springs. There will be rebuilding. This is undisputed. Fulton County has unequivocally stated that more consolidations are coming our way. There are concerns with Sandy Springs Middle School. Our feeder systems are not aligned, and I am also gravely concerned that by ignoring our data, information from our community, who actually live and know this community, that we will be facing overcrowding and redistricting in the next few years. More concerning, as a unified community, we were completely ignored by Fulton County schools, and they left community input and common sense at the door. Fulton County thinks we will just get over this, but with that knowledge, we cannot. Fulton County has now left a generation of new families with nothing but complete distrust, uncertainty, and concern for our children. We cannot move on, but we must move forward. Move forward with us. Let's brainstorm and collaborate on educational options in Sandy Springs that fit a post-pandemic 21st century landscape that recognizes that diverse community need diverse educational options for all people. Let's collaborate the way that Fulton County should have collaborated with our community in the first place. Many of you have ideas about what education in Sandy Springs could look like. Many parents and community leaders do too. These range from community organizations, localized partnership for special needs children, new legislation to charter schools. Many parents are already organizing to make these a reality. Let's unify. I do not stand here today as someone who is anti-public school or seeking any retribution. I am pro-community and pro-education, but we are the adults in the room, the parents and community leaders. The children depend on us, and all of them, Spalding, Woodland, Ison, and Herds Ferry, they deserve so much better than this. So I stand here as a parent, a servant, a neighbor, and willing partner to this council to be the change that we want to see in our community. So use me, use us, and thank you so much for what you did to our families. I look forward to working with you more.
Andrew Quigley, followed by Amitav Nangavni.
Hello, my name is Andrew Quigley, and I work with a company called Cherry Street Energy. I'm here in front of y'all today to talk about two different problems that I think my company can help y'all solve. One is meeting your sustainability goals, and the second one is reducing your energy costs or what you guys spend on power. Cherry Street Energy it's a 10-year-old company, and it was started right after the laws in the state of Georgia changed, which allows companies to sell power. And we've got a pretty unique model that's been able to help the city of Atlanta, Fulton County, Macon-Bibb, Savannah, a bunch of places all throughout the state of Georgia and really the southeast. In fact, I'm very excited to share we've got two projects that you'll soon be able to see very close by, one of which is the Sandy Springs Library. You'll see our solar panels on those roofs very shortly. And we're currently under construction at the Benson Center. So we'll be helping power that facility. The unique model that we have that I think would really be an ideal fit, especially here at Sandy Springs where sustainability is a priority, is there's no upfront capital costs. We work very similar to the way you guys are already working with like a Georgia Power, which is you just pay for the power that we are generating on your rooftop. And so the way it works is Cherry Street will design, will construct, will maintain a solar array on y'all's rooftop, and you guys will pay for the power that we generate every month. So looking at the shot clock, I've only got a couple more seconds here. I really just wanted to take this time to introduce you to our model. To tell you that we're working with your neighbors and we're working with buildings that are in your community. And I'm excited for the opportunity to hopefully work specifically with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley.
Amitav Nangavni, followed by Courtney George.
Mayor and council members, my name is Amitav Nagrani. I'm a HOA board member of 5716 Taylor Way, 30342. We are a small community of 11 townhomes, and so it's challenging to begin with all the rising costs to maintain our community. the 285 construction has resulted in the board having to do a special assessment to take care of the exterior, repaint it, pressure wash it. We lost most of those reserves as it had to go clean up retention pond due to illegal dumping about a year back, and it's happened again a few weeks back. There was an illegal immigrant arrested a few weeks back for illegal dumping, living in the retention pond, starting fires, putting our community at risk. We had to spend $8,000 of our reserves a year back, which is $727 per home, and may have to do this again, making it very hard in this economy, rising cost and inflation. We also have noticed a bus dropping off people from the border every Sunday, which is very concerning. It only increases the chances of more events happening like the one I just mentioned. We need your help and would appreciate anything that the city can do to help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for taking time to talk with us. I will follow on Amitav's. I am the president of our HOA. I would like for you to know that last year when we spent over $8,000 for a townhome community of 11 at the corner of Lake Forest and Northwood, we were baffled. By the way, if anybody in here needs a bike, I've got about 17 in the water retention pond. We'll give it to you to take away. I spent 3 days of my own personal PTO going in between City Council and the police, trying to get some help, trying to get some resolution, because there has to be an answer. I came from Midtown, where I owned for 13 years. We have an extreme problem. Mr. Tibby, I appreciate you taking time to call me back and telling me about this meeting, but this isn't a new problem. Y'all were aware of the dumping on Lake Forest prior to this. The problem that I have is our community is a working community. We have small children that live there. In both cases, the gentleman that was arrested and Officer Redcay believes that there are 2 more at large. There are drugs and needles. We have a public health problem at that point. Not only are we having to pay additional money to remove this, and because we are the landowners according to the city, I can't do this every year. I can't afford to do this. Our community can't afford to do this. $8,000 may not be a lot of money to some, but when we have to split it up, that's $770. I'm going to round it up to, $728 when I rounded the change up. I've already done that once. Now I've just had to assess everyone $4,200 for townhomes that are 6 years old to be repainted because of what's happened with the expansion of 285. Now I'm getting ready to have to tell people they need to reach back into their pockets for $728 more to clean this up again. When I followed up, because I asked if maybe potentially, I was willing to prosecute. I can't get any answers. They asked if we were willing to have them work it off, and my answer is yes. Because I can't keep asking people and families to come out of their pocket this much every single year, every single month. We're doing everything we can to be great citizens of the city of Sandy Springs, and we appreciate what all of y'all do. I work in nonprofit, so I know how hard y'all work every day. But I need your help. And anything that y'all can do, I will be happy to stay behind and seek resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others? All right, we will close the public comment period. Thank you all. Is there a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda?
Mayor Paul?
Dr. Kelly.
I'll move approval of our meeting agenda.
You have a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paulson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on approval of the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The meeting agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Paul,
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for Tuesday, March 4th, 2025.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dr. Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda is approved. Moving to public hearings, the clerk will please read the first item.
This is agenda item number 2025-050. Consideration of the First Amendment to the contract for loan agreement assistance under Section 108 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended, 42 U.S.C. 5308. This is presented by Planning and Zoning Manager Michelle McIntosh Ross.
Ms. McIntosh Ross.
Yes. Greeting, Mayor and City Council. I bring to you a resolution requesting approval of an amendment to the Housing and Urban Development HUD agreement dated March 18, 2019, regarding the contract loan guarantee assistance under Section 108 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974. As you may know, the loan agreement, Section 108 loan, is for the Roswell Road multi-year sidewalk project as approved in the CDBG Consolidated Plan and the CDBG Annual Action Plans. This project is to install sidewalks along Roswell Road inside I-285 from Northwood Drive to Stewart Drive and from Stewart to Long Island Drive, and to include Hope Road. The city was approved for $2,872,000 of 108 loan financing with a repayment period from August 2019 to August 2030. We are up to date with the principal and interest payments and on schedule to complete the payments according to the amortization schedule ending August 2030. The proposed amendment to Part 2, Section 1A of the contract provides for a new disbursement and investment maturity due date of the Section 108 loan agreement to FY 2029. This will extend the time for the city to use, that is, to withdraw and disperse all of the loan proceedings, as well as to limit the maturity date for the temporary investments to June 30th of 2029. This amendment is needed due to unforeseen construction delays, which the HUD Secretary recognizes as no fault to the city regarding its obligation under the contract. But since the deadline has expired, both the city and the HUD Secretary are in agreement that it is in the best interest to continue the Section 108 loan activities. This amendment will achieve that, and all other aspects of the contract remains intact. Staff recommends approval of this amendment.
You've heard the report of the Planning and Zoning Manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson.
I move we approve agenda item 2025-050, an amendment to the contract for the loan guarantee assistance under Section 108 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended 42 U.S.C. 5308.
All right, we have a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Dr. Kelly. Now do we have any public comment cards? No. All right, then we'll close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Mr. Paulson, then Dr. Kelly.
So are there any financial implications other than what we originally had agreed to with this change in dates?
Yeah, no additional financial.
Okay.
Okay.
The agenda memo mentions June 30th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
What's the significance of that date? So the June 30th of 2020, that was what the original agreement was that was the deadline for the original agreement.
Oh, okay.
We're changing that
okay.
now. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So, all right. Just wanted to make sure I didn't mess that up. All right. And you mentioned that Hope Road is something that comes out. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-050, the First Amendment to the contract for loan guarantee assistance under Section 108 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-51. This is ABL number 27724. Consideration of approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for Cannon Cooks, Georgia, Inc., doing business as Cannon Cooks at 5984 Roswell Road, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30328. The applicant is Lieben Lee for consumption on the premises, malt beverages, and wine. Presented by Revenue Manager Corey Holiness.
Ms. Holiness.
Good evening, Mayor Paul and City Council. This is a new application for consumption on the premises of beer and wine alcohol license, Canton Cooks, Georgia, Incorporated, DBA Canton Cooks, 5984 Roswell Road, Suite B, 108B, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30328. The applicant, Lieben Lee, has met all requirements and staff recommends approval.
Are there any public comment cards? We will close the public hearing. You've heard the report of the Revenue Manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item 2025-051 for ABL license number 27724. So this is the approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for Canton Cooks, Georgia, Inc., doing business as Canton Cooks at 5984 Roswell Road, Sandy Springs.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve agenda item 2025-051. Is there any discussion? Is this a new or a change of ownership?
The customer requested for a new alcohol business license.
Because they've been there for a while.
They have, yes, sir. But he wanted to request a new business alcohol business license.
Okay. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-051, approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for Canton Cooks, GA, doing business as Canton Cooks at 5984 Roswell Road. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-52. This is ABL number 27631. Consideration of approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for MBD Mr. 01 Sandy Springs LLC, doing business as Mr. 01 Extraordinary Pizza at 6405 Bluestone Road, Suite 240, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30328. The applicant is Miguel Blatt for consumption on the premises of beer, wine, and distilled spirits, presented by Revenue Manager Corey Holiness.
Ms. Holiness.
This is a change of ownership application for consumption on the premises of beer, wine, and distilled spirits alcohol license, MBD Mr. 01 Sandy Springs LLC, DBA Mr. 01 Extraordinary Pizza, 6405 Bluestone Road, Suite 240, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30328. The applicant, Miguel Blatt, has met all requirements and staff recommends approval.
You've heard the report of the Revenue Manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item 2025-052, ABL number 27631, for the approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for MBD Mr. 01 Sandy Springs LLC, doing business as Mr. 01 Extraordinary Pizza at 6405 Bluestone Road, Suite 240, Sandy Springs, Georgia.
Got a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Kelly. I keep getting ahead of myself. Is there any public comment cards? All right, we'll close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-052, approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for MBD Mr. 01 Sandy Springs at 6405 Bluestone Road. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to new business, clerk will read the first item.
This is agenda item number 2025-053. Consideration of a resolution to reappoint a member to the Sandy Springs Board of Ethics, Bethany Diamond, presented by Mayor Rusty Paul.
We're going through some appointments this year, and one of those is the current chair of the Sandy Springs Board of Ethics. They are the equivalent of the Maytag repair person. In 20-plus years, we've never had an ethics complaint, but they do meet regularly and are prepared to do so if something ever happens that they need to hold a hearing. Ms. Diamond has been, you're limited to 2 terms on the Ethics Committee, or on the Board of Ethics, and she has completed her first term. So I'm asking you to approve Ms. Diamond for a second term on the Sandy Springs Board of Ethics. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Is there a motion? Mr. DiGiulio. We have a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second?
Second.
It's a motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Baumann, that we approve Agenda Item 2025-053, a resolution to reappoint a member to the Sandy Springs Board of Ethics. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the Agenda Item 2025-053, a resolution reappointing a member to the Sandy Springs Board of Ethics. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to reports. A lot of things been going on. One of which I'm actually honored to say that my peers and the Metro Atlanta area have elected me as executive, or as the chair of the Metro Atlanta Mayors Association, affectionately known as Mama. Mama has called and I have answered. So I am. It's an honor. It really is when your peers look to you for leadership, and they vote unanimously, largely because nobody else would take it. But no, that's not true. But it is an honor, and I think it's a reflection of the respect that they have, not just for me, but for the whole city of Sandy Springs and how we do things, and the leadership role that we have the opportunity to play in the metro area. So that was very moving, and I really appreciated that they were willing to ask me to take on that role. Is there anybody else? All right, we will. We need a motion to suspend regular order. Oh, any staff reports? I'm sorry. All right, we need a motion to suspend regular order for an executive session dealing with real estate and litigation.
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move that we suspend regular order, move into executive session for the purposes of real estate and litigation.
We have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on the suspending regular order and going to executive session. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are in executive session. There will be no further business conducted this evening. We will simply return to this room and return to regular order and immediately adjourn. Thank you. Why is that?
My name is Shani Maddox. I'm the owner of Sandy Springs Boutique Winery.
Oh, okay.
And I've been leaving wine all over town for
I
years.
know.
To try to get, I understand you're the decision maker on what wine goes upstairs in the.
Well, not really. I mean, that's our food and beverage people make that decision. Now they.
Although everybody keeps pointing at you.
Well, no, it's all based on the pricing of what we can charge, and we got whatever the markup is, and so David and Aldo are the two folks, along with Bill. I mean, I taste them to make sure that they're all right, but they're the ones who actually make the decision about what we buy.
Did you get your Christmas present?
I did. I have it on my desk, and I just got to get by to take advantage of it.
But yeah, it looks like they just stop in and see your place where you're a block away.
I know.
The sidewalks are going to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully do wonders for us because nobody knows we're there. And we're a block away. But yeah, that sidewalk's completed.
Yeah, I drove by today, and they were putting the forming in.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. It's a mess right now, but yeah, I'd love for you to stop in.
I will get there. I promise you. All right, I'll do it.
So I need to beat up on Aldo more as well.
Yeah, Aldo and Ramin, and then of course Bill Haggett. Those three make all the decisions about what goes on in that bar over there.
Because I can work with you, I just need I want to get our name out there.
Gotcha, I understand totally. Thank you.